Welcome to another State of the Game with Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. This is become, well, primarily a Star Citizen based blog. Originally I wanted to make it encompass some of the other different space sims in this type of genre, but I've kind of fallen away from playing Elite Dangerous as much as I was before, and it's mostly because the game just isn't grabbing me. It's not giving me exactly what I thought it would in the beginning. I know that it's going to grow over time, but even the little pieces of Star Citizen that are here today are actually a little bit more captivating to me than Elite Dangerous. So this particular series has very quickly become a Star Citizen only series. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the right thing to do, but for the time being, it's going to be what I do. And keeping it in the Star Citizen genre, I think, will be it will be a very big service for those people that have been watching my channel since the beginning. Now, I'd like to thank most of you, if not all of you, for the support that you've shown me in the last few months and for the get well wishes. The flu really stinks, and it seems like 2 or 3 times a year I'm sick, and I do apologize for that. I do travel a lot, and when I do, I wind up staying up very, very late. And I guess that just wears down my body's defenses. And being older than a lot of you all, I guess it's just the nature of being over 25. Well, almost twice as old as 25. Well, let's get on with today's topic. Today's topic is going to be about the parts of the game that I like and things that I hope CIG will do in the near future to help build excitement around the game, start recruiting new backers, and give back to us let's go back to the word excitement. Give back to us excitement. That excitement and that energy that was around last year's the next great Starship contest. And they're going to have a next great Star Citizen contest or next great Citizen contest very shortly. But I've been thinking about utilizing the pieces of the game that already exist, and that it would be the Star Citizen Arena Commander module. Arena Commander came out for us to be able to test the assets that they were producing, specifically the main assets, which would be the ships that we would be flying in the Persistent Universe and the Squadron 42 campaign. Now, I've been very, very, standoffish for a while as to how often I would play these particular modules, and the different game modes at first didn't really excite me because the flight models were broken, or you would have broken damage systems, or you didn't really have any kind of weapons, shield, and power management going on. But all that's been fixed, and little by little the game has become a very, very, very fun game to play, even though Star Citizen's Arena Commander is something that exists inside of the Star Citizen game. I've found it to be very fun. So I began to think about how can we utilize this to drum up some kind of excitement. Can you actually build some kind of tournament system out of the pieces that are here now and out of the pieces that will be coming in the near future? So the first thing I thought about it is just how would you do that? Who would compete? And I came up with an idea that it would be 5-person teams. We really would want those 5-person teams to come from an organization. That way we could pit organization against organization. Or those 5-person teams could just be friends or a subset of people that have congealed into a team name. Alright, so that would be first. And what would be the game modes? And the game modes would be the different racetracks for the Murray Cup, and this would just be one of my ideas. I like the Murray Cup because it's pretty fast, it's pretty fun, and there's a lot going on in the games. Some people are using the shortcuts that exist right over here that cuts off the most time. I like to yaw my way around here because I crash too much trying to fly underneath those apartment complexes. But the way that I figured this out, the way I found out just how exciting it was to fly in this particular mode, was I crashed on one of my games, and when my ship came back, it had no engines and no thrusters, and it just would not come back. In fact, later on, I had to delete my user file to correct that. But what I wound up doing is using that brand new spectator system that they built into the game. And I just watched this one person flying around the course, and he was very much competing with another person. They were both in 350Rs, and you can see them going back and forth and back and forth, fighting for first place against each other, flying close, flying inverted above and below each other, going through the tunnel, almost touching, and it was getting really exciting. And then I thought, how awesome would it be if you had some kind of an announcer announcing this particular game mode? And that's where this all started to stem from. And then I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if Cloud Imperium Games picked this up, used the spectator mode, and started to push that racing mode? And then I moved into this. And I tried that trick where I would die and just follow another person. And I did that within this game mode, which is called Capture the Core. And although I didn't stay dead for a while because my team needed me, I found that this game mode was exceptionally competitive, fast-moving, and it had a scoring system that actually worked. So my idea is very simple. We use the two game modes that right now are most likely to give us the most fun, the most excitement, and we turn them into tournaments. And then when the first-person shooter module comes out, we utilize a piece of that. And the reason for this is I think that we should push the elements that are space-based combat, first-person shooter-based combat, and then just racing. And we have tournaments in each one of these things that will rotate on a monthly basis. So one month we have a tournament for Capture the Core. The next month we have a tournament for the Murray Cup Racing. And then the next month we have a tournament for first-person shooter. And I put it in that perspective in that way because I know that racing is going to be updated at some point in version 2.0. At least that's one of the things that was told to me in the 5 for Ben Lesnick series at one point. But I know that Capture the Core is pretty much done now. And these would rotate through, and there would be excitement because you would have live streams on Twitch of the different, let's call them ladders, different brackets each week. Maybe 1, 2, or 3 nights a week. I don't know how often we would want to watch that. I specifically think 1 would be enough. And then we get to see that in a YouTube video, the highlights of which teams competed and who got to move on to the next piece. I think that this is a great way for Star Citizen, for Cloud Imperium Games, to start growing the backer base, but also start growing the credibility of the game, start growing the essence of the game, so that we can start drawing in some kind of big sponsors, which I know they've already had with AMD, and I believe with Logitech they've shared booths with at different events. So I'm pretty confident that this would be a good thing to do. Alright, that's going to be pretty much it for this week's episode, except for this. I'm going to call you all into action. And I'm going to ask you this. What would you do to promote the game in this manner? I'm not asking for it to be esports, like it to be this big giant competition. What I'm asking for it is to be a competition amongst the people and organizations that play the game now, with CIG or the sponsors providing some kind of prizes for the winners. I'm asking for you guys to tell me which modes. Did I pick the right modes? How would you put together? What would the brackets look like? How would you get that done? And what's the best way to actually get this live streamed? Would you do it on Twitch or YouTube? I think so. Or would you do it just on a live feed on their website? That would take a lot more bandwidth and a lot more time to put that together. I'm very much excited about this piece and hope that they pick it up. I hope that they start presenting something like this to us in the future. So get your comments and suggestions below. I'll read through them and I will use it to talk to Sandy with, because I've already proposed part of this to her to see how she feels about it. Well, folks, this state of the game would have been longer, but you can hear it in my voice. I am still a little under the weather, and I want to save that big push for today for me putting together the segments that I will be doing for the next Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. Thank you all very much, and with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.